clarification, I absolutely love It Chapter 2. I know it's not perfect, there's plenty of valid criticism of it, but there's just something about that insane, overly comedic, awesome transition having long-ass movie that scratches my brain just right. However, I was never very scared watching this movie at any point. Even when it first came out, sure, it has some good set pieces and some fun jump scares, but it was never jump out of your seat scary. They didn't really have that lingering feeling of suspense that the first movie had. Sure, the first movie was also pretty funny and lighthearted in a lot of aspects, but it can definitely get you on your first time. Although I might not find these movies all that scary, they're still some of my favorite horror movies ever. But how does that even work? Well, these movies are just so well made, from the acting to the amazing cinematography done by Chung Chung, who also did fucking Oldboy, the charming and well condensed script done by these fucking wonderful dudes, and the actual insane person who brought it all together, Andy Muschietti. In all seriousness, the guy is a legend and I plan to make a whole video about him and his work. But he first came to my attention as an excited young teenager watching the first It movie in theaters the weekend it came out. This is one of the formative movies for me at that age. It came out just at the right time in my life to make me realize, oh shit, movies are definitely the thing that I like. This movie is nearly a decade old now and I think a lot of people forget how good it actually is. I was once like you until I finally rewatched this movie about 3 years ago and realized, oh my fucking god, I adore it even more than I thought. Coincidentally, around the same time, there was whispers that they might do a spin-off TV show, a prequel of sorts. Looking back on this now, I feel kind of stupid, but at the time I was pretty skeptical about the whole idea. I didn't really think it would be necessary. I always rolled my eyes when I heard people say they wanted an It Chapter 3, and whenever my mom would send me shit like this on Facebook, primarily because I liked how self-contained this story was. I liked that there was a great beginning and a really solid conclusion. Continuing that forward would just be pointless, and it would completely undermine the emotional impact of that movie's ending. What would be the fucking point of anything that happened in that movie if it wasn't actually dead for real this time? I also expressed my general dislike I have for a lot of prequels in the past. I said that there are stories that inherently don't need to happen as we already know where everything leads. In retrospect, this was a bit much. I've definitely enjoyed some prequels in the past, and I think they can really work under certain circumstances. But I also made that video exactly a week before every single Sunday since October 26th, I, and I'm sure many of you, have been eagerly following It Welcome to Derry, and I loved it. Seriously, I think this shit started out pretty great and ended up being better than the movies were in a way. First things first, Andy Muschietti is an amazing director. Everyone who's doubting his Batman movie is crazy. I'm serious, by the way. Feel free to email me your death threats at this. This is my address and this is my mailbox. It Welcome to Derry is fucking nuts, man. Not only is it genuinely well written and paced experience, shout out to Jason Fox, and shout out to this person for letting me know that that's not how you pronounce his name at all. I'm still gonna say Jason Fox anyway. It's also masterfully acted, perfectly directed, and genuinely scary at points. Now, before I get a bunch of comments saying it's not scary, yada yada yada, I've seen a Serbian film or whatever. I get it. I'm not saying this show is gonna personally shake you to your core. We all have our different things. I'm saying from an objective standpoint that they've made an improvement on the previous formula and have not only built a very tense and stressful show, but have managed to make Pennywise actually scary again.
Duck and cover, kiddos.
He's become so popular over the years that I think people forget that the concept of Pennywise at its core is actually pretty fucking freaky if you think about it. The first time I heard about it as a kid, when I was like 8 years old on the fucking bus, it scared the shit out of me. The imagery of Tim Curry as the character sent chills down my spine when I looked it up on my mom's laptop. There's just something eerie and even uncanny about this imagery. Sure, it may not have been as terrifying when I actually watched it, but I never quite got over that interest in this character and this story. Eventually, the killer clown crisis of 2016 came and was so widespread that suddenly everyone and their moms were scared of clowns, and coincidentally, whispers of a new It adaptation started to pop around just shortly after that. I say coincidentally because while a lot of people seem to believe that this movie was made in less than a fucking year to go off of the hype of the killer clown shit, or how some people think all of that weird killer clown shit was a marketing scheme for this movie, neither of those ended up being the case at all. This movie was actually in development for nearly nearly 10 years, going from writer to writer, director to director, before finally being announced in early 2017. I remember watching countless different theories and leak videos, and I could not have been more excited. Eventually the movie came out, and I loved it.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
It was funny, well-paced, had brilliant acting, and most importantly, it scared me. There was just something about seeing that clown again that took me straight back to that Google image and the sheer dread I felt. Pause. Hey Brandon, what the fuck does this have to do with literally anything? Is this that YouTuber filler talk I always hear so much about? Well, no, but this bit definitely was. All of that was to say that for a second there, for one beautiful second, it was the scariest it had been in years. Decades even. I think it's safe to say that people aren't really scared of Pennywise anymore. It's the same as something like Michael or Freddy. You can definitely recognize why they're in this horror hall of fame of sorts, but you might not necessarily find them all that scary. So when you go to make another It adaptation, you're probably going to struggle a bit with making it really work. The team knew this and specifically knew they wouldn't over-rely on Pennywise again. They would avoid the formulaic structure of the past. They know for the entirety of the first episode we were expecting Pennywise to show up and do his whole dance and act bullshit. We expected to see our new Losers Club that drew similarities to the original, only for the show to say, hey, fuck that. Super fuck that, actually. The finale of the first episode is genuinely so unexpected and intense. We've all grown kind of accustomed to seeing it show up, scare some kids, and then disappear for some reason. But not this time, man. Definitely not this time. The finale is violent, tense, genuinely scary when it first happens, and just kind of tragic at the same time. Such a visceral and exciting note to start the show on, good god. And then awaiting Pennywise's arrival for the rest of the show is both exciting and dreadful. They really build up to it for 5 straight episodes, and they don't hold back at all with his reappearance. He looks amazing. Bro is literally glowing. The scene is the scariest we had seen Pennywise up until that point. They really play into the inhuman aspect of this creature and create some horrific and amazing imagery with it. That shot of it in its little hibernation chamber thing is my favorite shot in the entire series. It's so well done. The imagery of the clown wagon and the trail of bodies that followed it, all the small details too, like the hands for chains, and Pennywise's silly little tuba he's got, it's all absolutely incredible. Another reason that they waited so long to go down with the clown is because they really wanted to emphasize the fact that it is a timeless shape-shifting entity like in the novel. Much to some people's dismay, it seems. It as a creature is much more than just a scary demon clown from space. And I think most people know that, but the first half of the show revealed that a lot of people didn't seem to know the extent of that. It takes on many different forms in the novel. It usually just jumps straight into whatever you're personally scared of, instead of the whole clown shtick. For a kid named Eddie Corrigan, it takes on the form of his murdered little brother before transforming into the creature from the Black Lagoon to chase his ass down. Stan sees it as a bunch of dead kids. Bev sees blood and balloons in the sink, and it doesn't turn into the clown even once during the entire Kneebolt segment of the book. That's not to say it doesn't appear as Pennywise at all, because it definitely does, a lot, but the movies kind of make it seem like that's his only form, or like that's what he goes to every time, which I think gave the audience the false impression that Pennywise is it itself, when in actuality it's one of its many different forms. I just love how well they played into the insanity of this thing's abilities. They lean even further into the whole inhuman vibe that Bill has already had on lock since the first fucking movie. To be honest, this is the most in tune I feel like he's ever been with the character. That's not to say that he was bad in the other movies or anything. He was amazing. It's just here, he truly transforms into that thing. Jesus Christ. Now while that is terrifying, people still believe that this isn't a horror show because there's a lot of character drama. What? As if drama is a foreign thing to horror writing. Drama and horror literally go hand in hand. Without character drama, half of today's horror movies wouldn't be fucking half of what they are. The reason these work so well is because they have such good character building, because they really honed in on the realism and the people of this story. Derry feels alive in this show. It's practically one of the characters. It's almost like it's in the fucking title or something. And most of this show's many characters feel real and fleshed out. Sure, some definitely get more attention than others, and and some characters start out very important and then become less prevalent in the last few episodes, but for the most part, I think they hit the nail on the head with this cast. Due to the great performances and intense character growth everyone displays throughout the show, I wouldn't blame anyone for saying they prefer this cast to the original. Characters like Will and Marge are so much more than just the parents of other characters we know. Dick Hallorann is so much more than just a cool cameo. In fact, they show us a side of this character we've never seen before. We all know him as the helpful, kind old man who worked at the hotel, but we never really saw what led him to that point. What insane, horrible shit has he experienced throughout his life that helped shape him into who he was? Chris Chalk, the man you fucking are, dude. I love this guy. This was the best choice for Dick Hallorann, dude.
Rich. What's the matter? Do I have face on my face?
The last 2 episodes of this show as a whole are genuinely 10 out of 10 horror masterpieces. I'm not even joking. They really popped off with these. The first 6 episodes are also great, don't get me wrong. It's just that these last 2 were so good it almost feels like the best It movie that never was. The fire at the black spot is something we all know was coming, and still horribly dreaded it anyway, and the way they handled it was so much better than I could have ever anticipated. That beautiful and impressive one take, the heartbreaking performances from the trapped people inside, the sheer sense of desperation, and when you think it couldn't get any worse.
Noreen, over here. Take my hand.
You get so distracted by the human-caused travesty happening already that you kind of forget about it entirely for a second. This is genius in exactly how the book was written. There's points in the book where it will go so long without mentioning it, you'll get so invested in what the characters are up to, and then all of a sudden they'll mention it again and you're just like, oh yeah, that piece of shit is still fucking watching everything that's happening. Does this show vary from the book in general though? Absolutely. In the novel, It chooses to stay in Derry for its whole existence because the town is convenient for it. It's filled with so much anger, secrets, and fear that it can pretty easily survive off of it for the rest of time. In the show, it's because the natives contained it within the confines of Derry so that it can never leave. I can understand on one hand why people wouldn't like the change because that original description is kind of eerie in its own way, but I think much like the timeline change in the original movie, it kind of serves to help the adaptation in the long run. It's also pretty cool that the Native Americans have an even more significant role now than they did, rather than just being the people who created the ritual of Chud. I also think it was very brave of them to use an IP as large as this as a way to pick apart government control and dictatorships as a whole. How far are people willing to go when they're just following orders? And before people say I'm that woke friend reading too deep into this, I'm not.
So my sister and I grew up in a dictatorship, and guess what? It was fucking horrible. Over the years, even when it ended and finished, we still could see the ripples and consequences of the suffering and the pain. That the dictatorship ended, because they always do, they always will, and it ended badly. So we know that much about that. Stephen King, when Stephen King wrote It, yes, he was writing a masterpiece of horror and a beautiful coming-of-age story, but also it was a parable of fear-mongering and the weaponizing of fear in the real world.
The pillars around Derry give the military a clear objective rather than just go into the sewer and get its ass. It also allows for an insane finale once they break one of those pillars.
Stay back! God damn it, I will teach you.
So fucking cool. I'm pretty sure Bill Skarsgård permanently cemented himself onto the Mount Rushmore of horror movie icons with this. Andy Muschietti displays some of the best directing of his entire career, and hopefully he proves to some of his haters that they shouldn't have assumed he sucked because of one movie. And then you have the final episode where it feels like Jason is trying his best to see how many times he can make you cry, and Andy is seeing how many insane visuals he can put on the screen before you just have a fucking aneurysm. I didn't expect this show's finale to go as hard as it did. To be honest, I was was kind of expecting the typical sewer, we all float down here type of shit, whatever Big P's always saying. At first I thought this whole finale taking place in a frozen over river where our vision slightly obscured was just a budget restriction, but it didn't take me long to realize that this is actually really smart, as not only does it create a sense of unease, it's directly tied into the fact that this town is a beaver trapping town, and that's that same damn river we've been seeing since the beginning. And even though it's only one episode, this is somehow a better version of The Mist in the Mist TV show from a few years ago was. Do you remember that shit? Not only that, but you finally get to see the Halloran versus Pennywise moment that we've all been waiting for, where he makes him look like a bitch. You get the giant fucking bat visual, which makes the giant spider look like a bitch. And Rich returns briefly to help his friend save the day from the afterlife. Good fucking god, man. This show initially started out as just a continuation of the movies and slowly became a correction of those movies in a way, as they accepted some of the criticism and wanted to improve, and it ended up being so good that it kind of makes the movies feel obsolete by comparison. Again, I love these movies to death. They're some of my favorite horror movies ever, but fuck me, man, they really went off with this show. I can't believe I was so hesitant about this when it first got announced. I don't think I've ever been happier to be wrong about something. I love this story and its characters and the world it builds. I love these movies and how they managed to make such big changes without ruining the source material.
It's actually kind of better in certain circumstances. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I still get a little bit bothered when people demand an It Chapter 3, because that shit would essentially just be fan fiction, which this show could have also very easily been. But the great writing and the fact that they were drawing actual shit from the book is kind of what saves it. Many of these events happened and many of these characters actually existed, including Dick. Yes, Dick Halloran was briefly in the It novel. I don't know why nobody talks about that. I didn't think it would be possible for them to capture the same lightning in a bottle that the first movies were, but they somehow did it, and they did it even better. They fucking made Pennywise scary again, dude. I didn't think I could ever find this dude creepy again after all the shit I talked about like a million years ago at this point, but they actually did it. Not only that, but they somehow made a prequel that's better than the original, which I'm pretty sure is illegal or something. You motherfuckers are going to jail for this shit. And this shit in particular, dude, fuck you.
When I close my eyes and I dream of you.